Good morning, everyone. This is Jarvis Scott from What's Happening in Birmingham. Today I have the honor and pleasure of being with Heather Lebischak, who is CEO of Gen Y Communications. So good morning.
Good morning.
Heather. Tell us, what is Gen Y?
Okay, so we started the company in January, and it's called Gen Y Communications. Like, why do people act the way they act? And so what we wanted to do was kind of come at it from a generational perspective. The biggest goal we have when we speak to an organization is to make people realize that most people aren't out just to make them angry. That meeting they had that totally could have been an email, they really thought that was a good idea. They didn't just say, hey Jarvis, I'm going to really make you mad today by scheduling a pointless 9 o'clock meeting. They really thought it was a good idea, and a lot of that can be tied to the generations and how they were raised. And so we kind of try to peel those layers and help people understand the reasoning behind certain actions in the employee arena so that they can better understand them and be more tolerant and learn to communicate better with the various generations.
Okay, one thing for me visiting your website last night is you all talk a lot about millennials and understanding their behavior in the workplace.
Definitely a buzzword right now is the millennials.
Okay, so what research have you all discovered?
We actually, our founder, Kristen Scroggins, did a ton of research on millennials. She started off as a professor at UAH, and so she had the goal of, she was going to make all her students love her so that they would work super, super hard for her and do wonderful things. And that didn't happen. They basically looked at it as instead and said she's going to be more likely to hook them up with a good grade, which if you know Kristen at all, that is absolutely not ever going to happen. And so she started actively researching the generation she was teaching, which was the millennial generation, and figuring out things like what motivated them, what inspired them, what made them work hard, what kind of work ethic, what kind of communication styles did they like. She researched all those things for her students, and basically all of that research turned into a presentation. And so part of the beauty of Gen Y is we're not out there lecturing on what they say. You know, you hear, oh, they say, and everybody's like, who's they? Mm-hmm. Well, our research is our own research that we've done firsthand. One thing to keep in mind about our research is a lot of it is based in the Southeast, but it's definitely American-based. So a lot of what we teach and what we do is going to be very different when you get it internationally or when you throw other countries or cultures into it. Mm-hmm. But from a generational side, we've done all this research on the millennial generation so that she could learn to effectively teach them. And so we've kind of transitioned that into the corporate world because communication is communication, and that's what our thing is based on. She was a communications professor, and so we turned it from the communication side onto how effectively communicate with these millennials to get them engaged, to hire them, to, retaining is huge right now. Millennials are basically changing jobs every 18 months. And that's about the time you kind of get in a groove at a job. Mm-hmm. And so she researched those, and kind of we've turned that into a presentation, into a training. We can actually do a full day in-depth training on that as well. Okay.
Who are some of your past clients or current clients?
Our biggest client right now is NASA, which is super cool because I grew up and had literally had the planets on my ceiling, so I totally nerded out when we went to NASA. Still have my badges, every single one of them from going on the Arsenal. Okay. We've worked with Lockheed Martin, we've worked with Adtran, TAC Air is one we're currently working with right now. There's so many more, but those are just the ones that come to mind.
Okay. One thing I got really captivated about visiting your website, you broke down the different classes from baby boomers to Gen X, Gen Y. Can you kind of explain that and how they all break down differences?
Oh, absolutely. Most people talk about generations in a 20-year span. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of go about it a different way. We do it in a 10-year span. For example, those of us who grew up in the 80s or 80s and 90s, well, that's totally different from growing up in the 70s. The 70s mm-hmm. and 80s were totally different. So we kind of break them up into 10-year spans instead of 20-year spans. Another thing to keep in mind with the generations is when you see the birth years, they're going to vary across the board. Sometimes mm-hmm. there's as much as a 4 to 5 year discrepancy. But we talk about each generation, and we talk about the events that define that generation, the events that happen. Basically, a lot of the events happen during the formative years, those first 15 years of life, mm-hmm. that kind of molded them into what they are, how your childhood molded your idea of what the good American worker is. And so we start with the traditionalists. They're the oldest generation currently in the workforce. Mm-hmm. They're going to have more of a military base because they were basically, sadly, defined by war. We don't, so much so that we don't know how large this generation truly could have been because we lost so many to war. So a lot of their good American worker is defined by war. So their uniform was very important. Well, of course uniforms are important in war. You need to know who to shoot. Are they important in the workforce today? Not so much. But that's kind of where theirs came. You've got the boomer generation coming in after them, 80 million births. They were huge. They were very different. The traditionalists bucked heads with the boomers all the time. It's funny, I just recently binge watched Mad Men, and it's about the traditionalist generation, and the boomers are coming in. And the executives at the ad agency that they work for are constantly complaining, oh, these kids coming in today, they don't want to work, they're lazy, they're entitled, they don't want to earn their keep. And it's so funny because I was like, it's the exact same thing you're hearing about the millennial generation. And so you've got the boomer generation coming in, and they're wanting to, some of them, you've got at the end of the boomer generation, which are the children of the flower children, the ones with all the posters on their wall and want to change things. Then you've got Gen X, who really could care less. They just want to come in, get their paycheck, leave. You ask a boomer how long they've been with a company, and they're going to tell you 10 years, 5 days, and 6 hours. You ask a Gen Xer how long they've been with a company, they said, I've got 5 years, 6 days, 3 hours until I retire. So it's very different. Boomers are defined by their job. Gen X work to live. Boomers live to work. And then you've got the millennial generation that is just breaking down all kinds of what we consider cultural norms or workplace norms. The biggest thing we're learning with the millennial generation, and I was sharing with you earlier, one of the attendees in our NASA presentation said it best, is millennials don't want to make money, they want to make a difference. So companies are going to have to figure out how they can allow millennials in their job to feel like they've made a difference. Even if their job is to, work an assembly line or work in a bank or work at a law firm, what things can change, what wellness programs can you incorporate, what vacation policies can you have that will allow them to feel like they've made a difference.
Okay. One thing we kind of talked about earlier, I guess this is a popular topic, is called job ghosting, where people pretty much, they get hired for a job and they just don't show up.
That was a new term to me, as I shared with you, but from my experience and what I can tell, the biggest struggle I personally have had with millennials is getting responses from them. You send an email and you get nothing back. That could be because they're working on it, because they don't think it's important, they didn't read it, whatever the reason, they don't feel the importance, the need to respond. They don't feel the need to shoot the email and say, hey, I took another job, or hey, I changed my mind, because they assume that's implied with no response. This is pure speculation on my part as to where this came from, especially within the millennial generation, because as I was reading about it, a lot of it was talking about, they go in an interview, they get an offer, and then the employer never gets a response for that offer. And so I think a lot of times it's probably they changed their mind, they decided to stay, they went another route, and just assumed that it was implied that they're not coming. But it's still very bizarre and a horrible practice.
Yeah. Just don't show up. So with your company, just kind of give me just a list of services or a couple of services that you all provide.
Probably our biggest thing we do is keynote addresses. We've worked, one thing about our company is we are for any level of employment, from CEO to janitor. What we have is applicable to everybody in the organization. From Fortune 500s to small businesses, everything we have is applicable within the organization. We offer keynotes. Like I said, that's our biggest one right now. We offer half-day trainings. We offer full-day trainings where we do more of a deep dive. Within our half and full-day trainings, it's not so much a lecture format. We do games, we do activities. We give participation trophies and gold stars. We do lots of fun things in those. And so when we make it more interactive to where they're actually working with the people in their organization to kind of see where the communication breakdown is happening, and could it be a result of a generational difference, not necessarily they don't like you or they're trying to make you angry. So those are kind of the more full-day, half-day trainings. We also do consulting where we can come on site. My boss is actually in Texas right now, where she's observed another corporation doing an event, and she's going to be reviewing it and telling things like, the speaker did this, or the seating arrangement necessarily wasn't conducive to this, just different things like that. We also do consulting on the generations themselves. We love to come in and do like a deep dive and consulting and try to tell you, these are that policy you have right now. Let me tell you what a boomer thinks of it. Let me tell you what a Gen Xer thinks of it. And now let me tell you what a millennial thinks of it. And they're all going to be different. And so making people understand from a consulting side, this is what they're seeing here. It may not be your intent with that policy, but this is how they're taking it. Kind of open their eyes. We offer lots of different services.
Okay. And something I mentioned earlier or saw on your website, I think it's about 2030, the majority of the workplace will be
Yes,
millennials.
that's kind of our tagline right now. Starting in the year 2020, they're going to be about 41% of the population, the working population, the workforce. From 2020 to 2050, they'll stay the majority of the workforce.
Okay.
And so if your company is not actively focused on engaging, on hiring, on retaining, on knowledge transfer, transferring this knowledge, taking these subject matter experts and letting them pour their expertise into the younger generation, then you're not going to succeed when almost half your workforce is going to be this millennial generation that you're not willing to give a chance.
Okay. So for more information, they want to get in contact with you all. What's the website?
It's www.whycommunications.com.
Okay. Well, Heather, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'll be remiss. We went to high school together, so that's a
Yes.
long story. I'm not gonna tell you what
Yeah.
year we went.
No.
So what year? But Heather, thank you again.
Absolutely.
And for more interviews, please check out what's happening in Birmingham.com. Thank you all again. Bye bye.